With only a few days left in the election, former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford's widow, Renata Ford, has sued PC leader Doug Ford for $16.5 million. The widow and children of former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford are suing his brother Doug Ford, alleging he has deprived them of millions of dollars, including shares in the family business and a life insurance policy left behind to support his family. In a $16.5 million lawsuit filed Friday in Superior Court, Renata Ford also alleges that the former brother-in-law, Doug Ford, is a negligent business manager whose decisions have led to a steady decrease in the value of the Ford company, Deco Labels. Despite setting his sights on a political career, Doug has continued to receive, quote, extravagant compensation, even though Deco is losing money, Renata claims in her court filings. Doug Ford has, quote, knowingly and deliberately put Renata and her two children in a highly stressful and unfair financial position during their period of grief after Rob Ford's death, and continues to do so for more than 2 years after Rob Ford's death, the statement of claim alleges. Okay, now, my first reaction to this when I saw this yesterday was, holy shit. This seems like a big deal. Now, because there's only a few days left in the election, there's obviously going to be some questions around why is this coming out now? So if this had come out during a campaign or if this had come out against Kathleen Wynne, if somebody was suing Kathleen Wynne and it came out in the last few days, or somebody was suing Andrea Horwath and it came out in the last several days of the election, we would all be questioning, why is this coming out now? But there's a few reasons why I am more inclined to believe the allegations in this suit than I would allegations against Wynne or Horwath. And that's largely because Doug Ford is a proven liar. Throughout this entire campaign, he has lied over and over and over and over again. And I know politicians lie all the time. Yes, I'm sure Horwath and Wynne have their own set of lies as well. But Doug Ford lies about everything. He doesn't do any research on any topic and then pretends he knows everything about it. So, for example, when it comes to safe injection sites, he acted like safe injection sites don't work, but safe injection sites do work. The data on that is in. So he'll just go along with how he feels about something without actually looking into the details. Now, when it comes to direct lying, well, the biggest one is that he said the PCs would have a costed platform out before the election. Where's the platform? They don't have one. Now, how much deeper do you want to go into the lies? I have multiple videos covering all his lies, so you can go look at those. But this is the problem here. Because Doug Ford is a proven liar, because he's a fake populist, because he pretends to be for the little guy, but he inherited his business from his dad, he's a millionaire, he has had all the connections in the world, his brother was a mayor, his father was an MPP, he's had every possible connection you can have. Yet he pretends he's against the elite, he's against the establishment. He's a phony. So when there are allegations like this that are, yes, not proven yet, we still don't know if any of this is true, but just as a viewer, as a voter, as somebody seeing all this take place, how can you not come out on the side of, yeah, there is probably something to this, simply because of the history that Doug Ford has as a proven liar? Now, let's go to, the other thing I want to touch on just in that piece there was the extravagant compensation that Doug Ford continues to collect as his company Deco Labels goes into the ground. Now again, another unproven claim, but here is how Doug Ford responded to that idea that he makes an extravagant compensation from Deco Labels. Asked if he would release audited financial statements from Deco and reveal his annual salary from the company, Ford twice changed the subject to repeat the claims are false. So, once again, Doug Ford is not willing to actually come out and refute what these claims are. He's lying. He's essentially lying by not answering the question. So by avoiding this, doesn't that tell you something? by explicitly saying or not saying that he's not going to reveal how much he makes. That shows you that maybe he does make an extravagant compensation. But again, these are all alleged claims that we don't know the reality to yet. But because of Doug Ford's history, it's it's really hard not to believe them on the face of it. Now, just here, I'm going to go over some of Doug Ford's recent lies. So I made a few notes here since it's really hard to keep track of all Doug Ford's lies. So here are just a few. He, like I said before, he said he would release a fully costed platform. Didn't happen. He said he saved Toronto $1 billion, or him and Rob saved Toronto $1 billion. Not true. I broke that down in a different video. He said that no one lost their job while they were saving Toronto $1 billion. Again, not true. Broken down in the same video. And he said if NDP forms government, businesses will move down south. And then when asked after the debate, when he said that, asked if he would move his company down south if the NDP formed government, he refused to answer the question. Once again, completely avoided saying anything specifically because he knows himself that he would not move his business down south, or he would not move his business out of Ontario. I think there actually already is a portion of Deco Labels that is in America. So these are just a sampling of the lies that Doug Ford has been saying just in this past month. Now, if you go down through his history, I'm sure you'll find a lot more. But this is why it's hard to believe anything Doug Ford says. Now, just to touch on the convenient timing of this, I completely agree that it is very convenient that this came out now. That said, this is a family member. So this isn't like some random person that is suing Doug Ford for something. This is somebody within his family doing it. And the likely reason that they are doing this now is because it gave them leverage to try and get a settlement before the election. So this actually, the suit was filed on Friday. The news of it came out on Monday. My feeling on this is that Renata Ford, Doug Ford's widow, was trying to get Doug Ford to settle so that this wouldn't come out and was using the pressure of the election to do so. Now, that doesn't mean that these allegations aren't true. But it does mean that because of the election, Renata Ford has some extra leverage to try and get Doug Ford to settle before this came out publicly. So while the timing seems convenient, and it totally is convenient, it was likely because of Renata Ford trying to benefit herself in the suit, in trying to win this lawsuit or settle the lawsuit before it actually came out. So again, you can look at that as kind of a sneaky way to try and get Doug Ford to settle. Or you can also look at that as, yeah, sure, maybe it's a sneaky way to try and get him to settle, but that also doesn't mean that these allegations aren't true. Now, NDP leader Andrew Horwath reacted to these allegations today. He's expecting people to trust him, Horwath told reporters in Brampton, noting Ford's platform does not say where he will get the money to pay for promises like a 10 cents a liter tax break on gasoline. Quote, if his business dealings are unsuccessful, what would we expect then from a premier who refuses to be upfront and transparent and honest about the cuts he's planning on making, she added, referring to Ford's proposal to axe $6 billion in government spending. Quote, people wonder whether this is the kind of leader, the kind of premier that will look after you and your families. Now, obviously, campaigns are going to use news like this to try and boost themselves and their party. That's not surprising. And that said, that doesn't mean that what Andrew Horwath is saying here is in any way wrong. This does put into question what kind of leader Doug Ford would be. And even, way before this story, there were lots of questions around who Doug Ford is, who he supports, who he's actually standing up for. So I have a story where he was caught at a $250 a plate fundraiser that was an illegal fundraiser. So as somebody running for office in Ontario, you can't go to fundraisers like that. And whether Doug Ford knew that or not, he was caught at one. Now, what does that tell you? So that tells me that Doug Ford is listening to people that can afford to go to a $250 a plate fundraiser. People going to that fundraiser is not the little guy. Those are business owners. Those are wealthy individuals. So if he's going to listen to them, then he's going to govern as somebody who is listening to their problems and not the little guy's problems. And I hate saying the little guy because it seems so demeaning, but that's Doug Ford's language, the little guy. So that's when you're caught at a fundraiser like that. I mean, come on. It's one thing if it was legal and we can question, okay, it's legal, so he's doing it to raise money, but it's illegal and he did it. So it shows you how much of a draw he has to wealthy individuals. He has to listen to their problems. He actually cares about their problems. That's where he shows effort. When he's getting paid by the people with money, that's where he puts the effort in to actually go and listen to them. So if you don't have money for $250 for a dinner, then Doug Ford likely does not give a shit about you. Now, let's go to some of the polling here. So I took these screenshots today. I don't know if it's been updated since. But right now, the PCs are at 37%, or 37.6%. So they have the lead in poll averages for the popular vote, with the NDP at 36.1%. And of course, the Liberals way down at about 20%. Now, even though the PCs and NDP are about tied for the poll averages in the popular vote, in seat projections, PCs are way ahead. And that's because the PC vote is spread out more among different ridings in Ontario compared to the NDP, where a lot of their support is more concentrated. Now, these polls are obviously taken before this news had any effect, so it's unclear yet if this will have an effect on Doug Ford. I happen to think that it's not going to have any effect on his base. I don't think it's going to have any effect on PC voters. But for those undecided voters, which I think there are still surprisingly a lot of them out there, I think it will have an effect, especially on Liberal voters. So people who were thinking of voting Liberal, even though the party's going to lose, I think they may think a little harder now about voting for the NDP as a way to avoid a PC majority. But we're going to see. So while I happen to think this is newsworthy, obviously, this lawsuit, I don't think it's the biggest deal, because this really comes down to a lawsuit. It doesn't come down to the platform. Now, that's, for me, the real issue. Doug Ford doesn't have a costed platform. Doug Ford is unprepared. Doug Ford is a proven liar. To me, that's why Doug Ford is somebody you cannot possibly vote for. You have to vote for an NDP government as the only way to avoid a PC minority or majority.